Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, August 10th. Can we believe that? I sometimes I'm still like, what is happening? As Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and the laced up legislator for the House of Delegates 89th District. I wanted to start this morning just putting it in your hands. And for those of you guys on Instagram, I'm going to flip this camera so that you're able to see. I think it's important, especially when we have missing folks in the community. There is a missing teenager named Gabriella Todman that has been missing since July 24th. And I'm going to turn you guys around so you can see the screen here, just so that you get a good look at her face. If you haven't already, let me change this here. If you haven't already got the opportunity to see that it's been all over the news, I just want to start with this so that if anybody decides to watch this live and then let it go, that you see this face. She has been missing for quite a bit of time. And I am 100% sure that her family, that Gabriella's family and friends and everyone is worried. The police chief just put out information the other day, just stating that there is a sense of urgency. So if you have seen this beautiful young lady, please, please, please be on the lookout and notify the authorities. She is missing. I could not imagine if that was my little citizen gone at this point in time. So good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Jason. Good morning, Mr. Steve. Good morning. Just wanted to put that out front. Just wanted to make sure that that was something that was out front of what we do, what we're talking about today. Just as a reminder, it is this tonight. Hold on. We've got tonight is a big night. So if you all have not been made aware, tonight is going to be our next in-person summer school for certified doers. So if you are interested in the legislative process, we've already went through the life cycle of a bill, how a bill is made, how you can be a part of that process. This next portion will be about building your bill and lobbying your bill and all of that good stuff. It'll be tonight at Jordan Newby Library from 5 to 7. We're gonna rock through it. So you all just come on down to Jordan Newby. I will be upstairs in the conference room, getting that in it. And maybe you have a policy, maybe you have an opportunity that you really want to, you as a certified doer want to share with a program, policy, whatever. It's an opportunity. So I want you all to seize opportunity tonight at 5 o'clock, Jordan Newby Library. We're gonna get it. Thirdly, we are in the midst of getting ourselves prepared for November. So if you are interested, people ask me all the time, Jackie, how can I help? How can I help? And I'll be like, well, I'll let you know. So November 7th, etch it in your head, is the last day to vote. I just want to remind you that September 22nd, though, is the first day to vote. Remember, y'all, we in voting season. So some of y'all on here, I know y'all be on y'all people like it is a voting season. So you need to be participatory in our voting season. I am asking for my day ones, right? My day ones. We're going to go on the 22nd. We're going to knock this out. We're going to meet up at City Hall. I'll put the flyer out for the day ones. I mean, that's what Drake said. You got to give it up for my day ones. We're going to do it on the first day. And then we invite you to come work with us on November 7th to find a time and a place to be able to work a poll. If you are work to be able to be a poll greeter for us, if you're able to do that, right, you put in your PTO and November 7th, that's the day. Go ahead to the website, contact us, say, hey, put your name, your information in there and say, I would love to be a poll greeter. It's such an amazing time. Such an amazing time and opportunity for you all to be a part. So November 7th, poll greeter between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. We need y'all kinds of people. All right. We need the certified doers to show up. All right. So let's get into life as it is. Outside of the missing teen, which I'm just going to keep stressing, outside of the missing teen, we still have not, as your state legislator, We still have not come to a consensus on the amended budget. And for those of you who have been tracking this, and some of you may not, actually, for those of you who have not been tracking this, let me just go ahead and make it clear what's actually happening here. So when we completed the General Assembly this past February, we left without voting or having a complete vote on our entire amended budget. So in odd years, we are making changes to our budget. In even years, we're adopting a new budget. And typically that even years where that governor, because a governor can only serve one term here, the new governor is putting their priorities together, submitting a budget to us, and we're doing the same with this new budget. So it's called a biannual budget, if you didn't know. So we are in an odd year, which means all we're doing is making changes to the old budget, which was our former governor, Ralph Northam's budget. Does that make sense? That makes sense, right? So we adopted his budget, his new budget last year. And then we are this year going ahead and making changes. That's the cycle. Now, a lot of times those changes, there's a lot of people dependent on us to make those changes. So school boards are waiting to hear what kind of funding that's going to come down. Right now, we actually have a utility commission. So a lot of the new bills there, when we get new legislation, oftentimes, if it needed money, it had to have an amendment, which is a change. There had to be an amendment to the budget in order to ensure that thing for that new bill is actually paid for. So we have some serious, there's some serious ramifications for what isn't being done. For example, right, there is, we have this commission on electric utility regulation. It's called, or sir, I think they call it, it's a commission that provides information about how our utilities are. If y'all pay a light bill, if you pay a light bill, and it also identifies the impacts that we pay with regards to whether utilities are going from fossil fuels to renewable energy. This commission, right? These people that's like looking out for us, that's supposed to be taking a look and being centered around helping provide us with the things to make sure that your utility bills do right by you. It's not funded right now because we haven't adopted a new budget. And like I said, the probably biggest thing that you on the local level are probably hearing, schools are like, we want to do our budgets. We want to know what we're going to have, but they can't really tell what they are or are not going to have because we have not adopted an amended budget. Y'all got that? Does that make sense? Good morning, P. Flora. And good morning, incredible Justin. Good morning. Good morning, sunshine. Good morning, flies. Yeah, so does that make sense? It's really important that you understand that it was like us saying to you, all right, this year we're going to give you $100,000. Let's say you are the people, you are all these programs. And next year we're going to look at how last year went and then make changes to that budget that we decided that we was going to give to you. And that there are pieces. We made changes because last year you found out that you needed $50,000 more for living expenses. And we're like, all right, we're going to change this budget. We're going to add it $50,000 more, and you still live it. But we haven't voted on the change to give you that 50 grand more. That makes sense? So there's people waiting on us to get this job done. It's super important. We haven't done that. That's a problem. And there is no necessarily end in sight because when we're talking about changing our budget, I told you all we have committees, right? There are 12 committees in the House, 12 or 13 in the House. Can't remember how many are in the Senate, but the committees that deal with the money, which are appropriations in the House of Delegates and Senate Finance in the Senate. Those two committees have very few people, right? Even the committees boil down to a couple people that help negotiate to get us where we need to be. Why are we being held up? Does anybody know why our budget is being held up? Anybody know why the budget being held up? If you do, drop it in the comments. Drop it in the comments. If you know why it's being held up, why we can't agree, why neither party can come to an agreement on the amended budgets. That's for you. All right. Just so that you all If somebody puts it in the comments, y'all better come back and check because I have something special for you. for having the right answer. It's a problem. And you all, the reason why I'm spending time today talking about it is because we are now in August. And you all should be hyper aware of that. Speaking of being in August, as many of you know, if you're in Norfolk Public Schools, David, the week partially. What about them? What they got in that budget that we like? Nah. Do you know what's in there? David, I'm sorry, Derek, done my whole vote here. Get your words together, Jackie. Done my whole headshots and everything. So Miss Shar says, I believe that there was a surplus in the budget and the governor made any changes to his request. Yeah, that is true, right? So there's truth that there is a surplus. We got a lot of money in this budget. That's why it's so important. That's why it's so important that we get this done. Sunshine Lady says summer session maybe. Well, we only have a summer session. The only person that can call legislators that can say, you know what, Jackie Glass, you and all your colleagues got to come back up here to Richmond is the governor. The governor is the one who can say that we have to be back in Richmond for a session. And we were not called back for a special session. The biggest thread, I appreciate this. So the biggest problem with the budget standoff is where we think that money should go. Initially, the governor in tandem with the Republican Party had a lot of tax breaks for big businesses. It was the wildest thing. I mean, it was all the way out in left field, and we did not agree with that. Right. So our both of our money committees in this House and the Senate, not both the money committees come to the table. And if you don't know already, in the House, there is a Republican majority. And in the Senate, there is a Democratic majority. So their leadership, right, we get these people that we pick. So there's the leadership in the House has been typically having one person being negotiating, and the Senate has had 2 or 3, and some of these people are retiring. So there's that dynamic. Realizing, I have to say this for you all as well, is that there's going to be a huge shift in the General Assembly this next session, as a third of it will be different. That matters to you, because I say this to you all the time, and we have to keep remembering that Virginia is a Dillon Rule state. Let's say it with me. Virginia is a Dillon Rule state or commonwealth, right? We're Dillon Rule. Dillon Rule means that our localities get our power from the state. This is why the state, the middle child of governance, is so important in the commonwealth, because we're directing and saying, well, you remember, I don't know if you've ever heard like something where the city can't do this. And the city's like, we have to go to the state. Because that's real. And that's why I need you all to pay attention to this election, because the whole body, all 140 people are up for election in November. All 140 people will probably for the next decade or so be those lawmakers that are working with or against your localities for the things that you may want to see in your particular city, right? I hope that matters to you. I hope it matters to you. However, we can't come to agreement on how we spend that money. Tax breaks or things for good everyday people, right? Like, we ought to come to the middle. And right now, there's been a lot of different news coming out about what they've been negotiating and how often they've been meeting. And again, there's a hard dynamic there. But the thing that I'm most concerned about is I want the funding that it should be going to our schools to be in a good place. I got my first budget amendment. So as your legislator, I am able to put in what I think should be changed to the budget. They're called the budget amendments. Just like I said, we haven't voted on those amendments, the budget changes. I get the privilege of saying, you know what, I see the budget. Here are the things that I think we need to change in them, right? Here's something that I think should be added money for. Now, the budget I did was for the office of the medical examiner, which again, I try to do the good things within the criminal justice system that'll keep it functioning. And we've got a huge problem with the medical examiner's office where we might not have people to process a murder victim, right? To determine a cause of death. We are at that point, and I don't know if y'all know this. Maryland had an issue like this before, and they were having to put bodies inside of a parking garage, and that clogs up the our justice system. So I got a budget amendment that was approved for that particular thing to get some money to that office. So that's important. So it's from the really big things to the things that maybe don't impact your daily life on the regular that are in this that are necessary to be taking a look at and making sure get done. Right? You guys get that money piece? Okay. Speaking of schools, thank you, Ms. Shar, about the money for schools. School starts back on August 24th. I mean, it goes 28th. 282828. Please, 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 if you have an adult child with children, if you have a cousin with children, if you have whoever, right? If you know there is a little citizen in your orbit that should be going back to school, you may be the primary caretaker or not. Please make sure that the little ones are getting registered for school, because if they have not registered, then it's going to be a hold up there. If you have a pre-K, kindergartner, seventh grader, or 12th grader, I say that again. If you have a pre-K, kindergartner, or pre-kindergarten, kindergartner, seventh grader, or 12th grader, they have to get updated shots, right? So unless you have some exemption, they have to get updated shots. That is necessary. I need y'all to remember that. Okay, tell your people, tell your people about it. So that there needs to be space for that. What else am I missing? If you have a community event that you want us to mention, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Let me time check us. Go ahead and drop that in the comments. I want to make sure that I shout out your community events that you have going on before we end here. Our newsletter, it will be coming out this week, probably today. So if you have not already signed up for our newsletter, please do it. We put good stuff in there. We are working really hard to update our newsletter to get it on a cycle where it is actually news that you can use. So go to delegatejackieglass.com, subscribe to that newsletter, get the latest updates. If there's something that we feel like you need to know immediately, we will send that out to our newsletter list, right? Let's say that there's a huge change in the Commonwealth on, maybe I-65 is going to be shut down for 15 days. Let's not speak that into it. I said 65. I-64 is going to be shut down for 16 days. Let's not speak that into existence. However, if there are urgent things, I try to make sure that as soon as I get it, you get it. And if you know people that are not on social media but want to stay abreast of what's happening, our newsletter is the best way. And actually, it's not even just newsletter. You're signing up for updates, right? You're signing up for continuous updates on what's going on, specifically in the district. And as you all may know, we are shifting the district that I'm currently in, District 89. We will be shifting over with the new election to 93, which is going to include Rosemont, Norview, Granby, areas over like the airport area, all the way up to Suburban Park. And that's the area. So even folks on that side, if you're like, well, she's not my representative, if you know folks, we're working to earn that position. So we may very well be your representative after this election. So it's just a good thing for anyone that wants to be a part. Remember, summer school is tonight. This weekend, let's see. I'm just making sure I get you guys all the good stuff. Coming up, yeah, we've got this is the time. I'll also do a pitch for Build in Public. So if you all take a little jaunt over to Build in Public VA, buildinpublicva.com, buildinpublicvirginia.com. It's an opportunity for you to go ahead and submit to us the types of legislation you want to see. You can, and I'm going to it right now so that we can talk about what's actually on there. I have a really strong opinion about making sure there's a level of transparency and ensuring that you are included in the process, right? Build in Public VA, it's an initiative out of this office to ensure that you and me, that we are moving together and making our policy. Most times, some of these things are happening back room and they don't really have a lot of sunlight until they're already in the legislature. There's a real fear, and it's very valid, let me just say this, it's a very valid fear of legislators, or concern or cautiousness that legislators have when publicly talking about the bills they have. Why is that? Why do you think that is? I'll let you take a guess. Why do you think a lot of legislators are like, I don't even want to talk about what I'm doing until it's already in and we are up at the legislator? I'll give you guys a chance to drop that in the comments as to why you think people got to hold their stuff close to their chest. But what Building Public is, we want you specifically to join our team as we build our 2024 legislative agenda with a full view, right, of the public, like you. We are working to raise like $1 million. No joke. Like, I know that sounds wild, but there's God, just as the body has shifted, just as the body of the legislator has shifted, there needs to be a new army of people that support legislators, right? A new, diverse and more inclusive army of people that want to staff and want to be a part of Virginia policymaking into this second part, this other part of the 21st century. I really believe that my success heavily weighs on the support and trust that I have in my staff. And that matters because you, right? Because getting the job done for you is super important. So as a member of the General Assembly, I have the ability to request drafts for up to 100 pieces of legislation right now, because remember I said that in odd years we're making changes, in even years we're adopting a budget. A new budget. That is because in those odd years, we're only there for 45 days because we don't have to do we're just making changes. And in the even years, we're there for 60 days. So we got a lot more time to get through legislation. So next year is going to be one of those years where we get to put in more legislation. This past year, I was limited to 15 pieces of legislation. Right, I could only bring forth 15 because we're on a limited amount of time. Now, next year, I can put in drafts, but it just depends on what I decide. So while I'm limited on how many bills, I can actually introduce the ability. I have this ability where I can transfer some of these things I draft to other legislators, to maybe some of the newly elected ones. So we're going to use this website, buildingva.com, and social media and all these different hubs so we can publicize a sort of radical transparency of our legislative public policy making activities. And we are interested in anybody that's interested in being a part of that and just being collaborative in that way. So we anxious to grant us some grace, because this is still a work in progress. Like, it's something different, and not all the portions of the website are going to be complete, and not all the resources are going to be updated. But we are trying to make sure that it's fully functional. We'll put you guys in the know, and we endeavor really to iterate and improve and quickly do our best to keep you all continuous updates. So back to that question, I said, why do you think legislators like hold their cards close to their chests? Why do you think they take and don't want to share their legislation to the last moment? So Ms. Shar says, it says the opposition has the chance to build up resistance. That is true, right? That is true. When you are sharing your things that you're going to do out front, that means that people can plan. They can actually plan to be like, I know how I'm going to oppose that bill. I don't know how I'm going to break that down, or whatever. That is absolutely true. That is one reason why people are like, man, I don't want that. Well, for me, right, for this office, we actively seek dissent, right? So when we have a bill that we know is going to affect these particular groups or people or whatever, we will talk to people that we know disagree with us as we're building on purpose. I'd rather get that dissent up first, because I want to get it as close as to understanding the way that we can get it passed with, right, we try to do no harm. But for me, I don't mind that if we build up resistance, because most of the things that we're doing are really trying to, from the lens of our community, do great things in the community. All right, so here's one of the major reasons, and this may surprise you. It may come as a surprise to you. But one reason why legislators tend to keep their bills close to their chests is because people will take their bills. Other legislators on the same side of the aisle, on the opposite of the aisle, well, they call you still in the bill. Yeah, that will happen, right? That will absolutely happen. Have I had it happen to me? Yes. Am I afraid of that? I'm not afraid, but I will not be happy, right? I still would be upset if someone came in and took something that we had worked so hard on and claimed it as their own bill. That really happens. So there is a definite concern that we work hard on something and then someone swoops in and says, "All right, I want that," and really say nothing about it, pass it off like it was their idea. That happens. So, in radical transparency, we do run that risk, but that's a risk I'm willing to take to get you all more participatory in the process. Okay. All right. So, as far as community events, I check my calendar. None of you guys put your stuff down there. I know that stinks. DT 40. It does. It does. It stinks and it stings because, we want to be an environment where we can build as much trust as we can to do the job that we have to do. That's on both sides. We want to assume that everyone is operating in good faith, right? Even if we disagree with each other, that there's a good level of good faith that we can do the things that we need to do to get the work done without fear of our work being co-opted or commandeered or just flat out negatively opposed for whatever reasons. There's so many different things, but that's why. So I want you, if you got an idea and you're not sure about it, go ahead and go to buildinpublicva.com. If you're like, hey, Jack, I don't really know about this legislative stuff, come on to summer school tonight. Bring yourself down to Jordan Newby Library at 5 o'clock. We'll be upstairs in the conference room, and let's work this thing out. Let's give you insight into how this works. We are certified doers, and doing goes beyond just the little bit of time that we have up in the legislature from January to March or February. And I want you all get in the habit of understanding that elections are 100%. 100%. Do you hear me? Elections are 100% determined by the people that show up. That's a quote my daughter gave me from someone else. She gave me that quote. Elections are 100% determined by the people that show up. And if you want your kinds of people to show up and being in this work, then you got to show up in good faith. All right. So tonight, I hope to see you. If you have an issue or concern, please don't hesitate to go to the website. We have a new trouble ticketing system where we will be able to monitor and help out that way. If you have any questions, comments, concern, a utility problem, we've had a lot of those this past week. Problem with the utility, you got a person in DOC needs some help. You had someone pass away or turn 100. Person, place, or thing you want us to celebrate, we're getting that together. Please reach out to the office and say, you know what, I got this community organization that's doing the daggone thing. I would like you to honor them at the state level. That's a part of our job. That's what we do. I need you, though, to do it even better. Right? All right, certified doers, get up, get at it. It is Thursday, which means this is that day that you try to grind. So tomorrow is just smooth sailing, okay? Smooth sailing. I thank you for joining us this morning on the Morning Dew for certified doers just like you. I will catch you next Thursday or in these streets. Be well. See y'all.